Hello and welcome back to r/entitled parents. And if you're new here, I hope you enjoy.
Karen tells me to stop speaking a foreign language because foreign languages come from Satan. Hello all you lovely cats and kittens out there. Oh boy, have I got a story for you. Before we begin, mobile, you know the drill. So to start off, I'm male and American born and raised, but I'm a French major, so I speak French near fluently. In fact, while studying abroad in France, I passed a languages course, which means that I speak French well enough to work and study in France. I'm very proud of this, as well as my love for French culture and linguistics. My roommate, who's a female, is also a French major and is also a Francophile. We go to school together in the Bible Belt of the States. Cue the story. Well, as I said, my roommate and I are both French majors, so we speak French to each other about as often as we speak English. It's a great way to practice the language. And it's a nice us thing. Anyways, we go to the grocery store for some much needed body and more needed blood of Christ. We're talking in French about what we're going to do on the weekend. So we're talking meals, class, and people we want to copulate with, a myriad of things. I noticed a Karen giving us weird looks in the produce area, but that happens a lot when you speak a foreign language in public, and you throw people a bit off guard. We're used to it. What we're not used to is the Karen following us as we walk around the store shopping. Whatever, she's not bothering us, just being weird. In the cheese section, we start talking about cheese in French, much to the amusement of the employees. We're having fun. Finally, the Blood of Christ section. My roommate and I get a case of bread, water, and look for some stuff we can pair with our ingredients. We're having a great time. We've really forgotten about Karen, but she hasn't forgotten about us. Something about the wine must have triggered her because she comes barreling up to us. Karen, stop this right now. Me, sorry? Karen, I said stop. I know what you're doing. I've been watching you this whole time. Roommate, well, that makes one of us. Karen, do you know what country you're in? Do you know who the president is? Me, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm probably having a stroke. Karen, in this country we speak English, so stop speaking Spanish or whatever and speak the Lord's language. Trump should have rounded up all of you Satan worshipping, LGBT, Black Lives Matter, Antifa creeps and gassed you. As it would happen, my roommate is Jewish and speaks the Lord's language of Hebrew. Now, I can't tell you what she said because I don't speak Hebrew. Roommate speaks Hebrew. Karen, stop that. You stop that right now. I bet you're putting a curse on my child. She continues to scream incoherent nonsense which I don't remember. Roommate, oh well, I'm just speaking the Lord's language. Happy Rosh Hashanah. Karen loses her crap. She starts screaming at the top of her lungs, demanding the manager and police and fire and Jesus. I think this is hilarious. I'm making jokes to my roommate in French, which only annoys her even more. Finally, nice manager comes over. Nice manager, is there a problem over here? Karen starts blasting him with incoherent screams, which makes her own child start crying. Nice manager, ma'am, please calm down, you're disturbing the other customers. Karen, they're disturbing me with their perverted ways. Look, they made my daughter cry, do something about this. Nice manager, hi folks, are you still looking around, are you ready to check out? Me, I'm just looking for some wine. The manager asked us what we'd like and recommended some of his favourites and we check out. He gives us an employee discount for our trouble, but ultimately he said he couldn't do anything about her because she hadn't been physical with us. Karen shouted at us the entire time, calling us devil worshippers and Satan and terrorists or whatever. Kinda anticlimactic and everything. Sucks that nothing happened to her, but the wine was on point, so at least some good came out of it. Too long didn't read. Satan speaks French. Now you know, the more you know. Am I the antagonist for not punishing my daughter for mocking her cousin? My wife and her younger sister are best friends. As a result, when our middle daughter and her cousin were born around the same time, my wife really expected them to also be best friends. With 16 years of hindsight, I can say with certainty that this expectation was misplaced. Nothing happened in particular. My daughter just doesn't like her cousin. My wife keeps pushing the relationship though. This includes making my daughter spend time with her cousin during family gatherings, inviting her cousin on trips, forcing my daughter to call her. We're pretty sure that I'm the favourite parent, a fact that keeps my ego well inflated, and therefore my apathy towards the situation is not well received by my wife. From my perspective, this is not important, and I do not possess the ability to make two teenagers become friends. I'm also pretty sure that trying to push this kind of knuckle-headed stuff makes kids not want to speak to you. This is where I'm probably the jerk. Yesterday, my wife forced my daughter to video call her cousin. My daughter rejected the request, and my wife told her, "Unless you have a valid reason for disliking your cousin, you will do this because we're family." Wow, solid points. The call occurred. This morning, we awoke to a PowerPoint presentation titled Valid Reasons to Dislike Cousin. Using clips from the Zoom call, segments included Why is Cousin's Voice So Grating? A music theory approach, a case study, conversations that provide no value, rethinking the idea that there are no dumb questions, etc. With the benefit of a couple of hours of hindsight, it was a very cruel takedown of her cousin's entire personality. My wife was furious. My eldest daughter and I lost our crap laughing. My wife is demanding I support her in punishing her daughter, my daughter, for bullying her cousin. I have refused because I feel like this whole situation wouldn't have occurred if she didn't push the relationship. But I'm starting to have second thoughts because it was quite mean. Am I the antagonist? Not the antagonist. Your wife is the antagonist for forcing a 16-year-old to spend time with someone who she doesn't like. The 16-year-old's response to your wife, she didn't tell the cousin this, I presume, is as hilarious as it is the fault of the adults forcing the relationship. I'm also not convinced that the cousin is down with this either, considering that the daughter is so clearly unhappy with spending time with her. Not the antagonist. Seriously, my 16-year-old self would have thrown a hissy fit and stomped around. OP's kid is clever as one can get. She put together her thoughts in a concise and organised way. Mostly chaotic neutral agrees. I aspire to be half this brilliant someday, and I'm about twice OP's daughter's age. OP, you need to have a serious talk with your wife about why she's so obsessed with trying to force your daughter to play friends with her cousin. And if she thinks this obsession of hers is more important than having a relationship with her daughter. So long as your daughter isn't being rude or nasty towards cousin at family gatherings, she is definitely not doing anything wrong. OP replies, I'd just like to also say I do feel incredibly bad about laughing. She just started with a music theory lecture about some special discordant chord. Then she had a video of the chord that immediately went into a Zoom clip of her cousin producing the same notes. I just couldn't hold it in. Not the antagonist. Unless your daughter sends this presentation to her cousin or shared it with anybody else, this isn't bullying. What is she to be punished for? Doing what your wife asked and giving reasons for why she dislikes her cousin? Having no chemistry or a dislike for another person and not wanting to spend her time on that person? Is she to be punished for having an opinion that differs from her mother's? Talk to your daughter and make sure her presentation is deleted, as it would be terrible should it get into anyone else's hands. Your daughter is almost an adult, and your wife is pushing her away with her demands. By the way, your daughter sounds wonderful. Your wife, not so much. I mean, it's a bold statement to make out of a snapshot of somebody's life, but hey ho. And finally, controversial take. Everyone sucks here. Yeah, I said it. Here is what you must do. Sit down with your daughter and explain that you and her mother have handled this situation poorly. Tell your daughter that you and your wife have disagreed and that rather than working it out between yourselves, you have put her in the middle of quite a lot of nonsense. Apologise and refuse to have any conversation about the relative merits of your niece's personality. Next, sit down with your wife. Explain that you believe the two of you need to take a completely different approach to the issue and that you would like to remove your daughter from the equation. Then explain that you believe your child should be required to be pleasant to all of her relatives during family occasions, and that, beyond that, it is important to leave the children to navigate their own relationships. Then you apologise for engaging in such a counterproductive conversation about whether or not they should be friends. Then gently explain that forcing a friendship, including calls and socialisation beyond family events, is not fair to either of the girls, just as you would not want to be forced to socialise and fake a relationship with someone who does not appeal to you as a friend. You most certainly would not want to be the person foisted upon an unwilling friend. Frankly, this initiative of your wife's is quite unkind to her niece. Lastly, you must let your wife know that you think the three of you should sit down and make a new plan that respects everyone's wishes. That conversation can certainly start with the importance of kindness. You really don't want to encourage your daughter to dissect and criticise other people's personalities, but both you and your wife need to acknowledge that you backed your daughter into a corner, and perhaps let her know that you didn't think that she would have composed an unkind PowerPoint if she weren't being pushed into an unwanted relationship. Then go on to agree to friendly behaviour during family events. Yes, that will mean that she has to socialise with her cousin when you've gathered for a holiday, and establish some boundaries in terms of trips. The cousin should not just be included, unless there is a particular reason for your niece to join you. To be honest with you, everyone on this subreddit was saying, ha ha ha, big funny, roast, so witty, hilarious. They were fangirling or fanboying over the daughter, but to be honest with you, I think she made cousin actually seem like a nice person, to be honest, A strong argument to maybe not be friends with, but at the same time doesn't inherently make that person a bad person just because they're annoying to be around, right? There's people that that exist in society that are just annoying to be around. Maybe it's me, but doesn't make them a bad person inherently, does it? So I think it is quite malicious to have a PowerPoint and to come from the guise of ha ha ha, it's hilarious, I'll make fun of this person, whether it's in front of them or behind their back or not. So it's one of those things, like one of the categories was asking pointless questions. Well, obviously this person's socially anxious and they're trying to make conversation. At least they're making an effort, right? Grating voice. What's that got to do with anything, right? Everyone has different voices. Respect people's individuality. Anyway, I'm going because might get a bit upset. All right. Catch you later. I hope you enjoyed.